This is the Week on WURD, a podcast featuring a roundup of the most interesting, informative, and entertaining interviews from WURD Radio. You can listen to WURD Radio anytime, anywhere on wordradio.com. That's WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Give us a play and download it today. In this episode, Justin Hunte, journalist and media critic, joined Evening WURDs with Dr. James Peterson to break down the return of hip-hop duo Clipse and their new album, Let God Sort Them Out. And Dr. Joyelle Ballard, board-certified OBGYN and women's health advocate, joined Soulful Sunrise with Karen Taylor Bass to raise awareness during Uterine Fibroid Awareness Month. But first, SEPTA spokesperson Andrew Busch joined Wake Up With WURD with Solomon Jones to explain the public transit agency's ongoing structural budget deficit and what it means for Philadelphia commuters.
We are now joined by SEPTA Director of Media Relations, Andrew Busch. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So what is the situation with the budget with SEPTA? I understand that there is a big deficit that you are looking to tackle. What's going on with the budget?
Yeah, so for the last 3 years, we've been warning, trying to get the word out about the structural budget deficit that we face. And that's structural, meaning it's a permanent deficit. It's going to not just this year, but coming years. And warning that would eventually lead to significant service cuts and fare increases if there wasn't a funding increase. And that's due to rising costs, the end of federal COVID funds. We've invested a lot into safety and security, cleaning, things that we've had to do over the last few years for reliable service. And we've hit the point where we have to face those cuts and those significant fare increases in order to balance our budget, which we're required to do under law. We don't have a choice but to balance the budget. So where we're at right now is we're waiting on a resolution of the state budget, which is, I think it was due June 30th, but now we're exactly a month late on it. And we've put August 24th, which is when we enter our fall schedules, when we adjust schedules several times a year. That's going to be when the first service cuts go into effect, absent a deal in Harrisburg. And right now, we are, we've been talking in Harrisburg. We've been, there've been some productive discussions, but a lot of our focus now is unfortunately on preparing for these cuts, which would be on starting the 24th, 20% cuts across the board. And then if we, continue through the fall without additional funding on January 1st, there would be additional cuts that would take us up to 45% overall. So nearly half of the system eliminated. And we would really SEPTA would be a shell of itself at that point.
Mm-hmm. So what particular bus routes are you talking about cutting? I understand there's a list now of the bus routes that would be cut. What are they?
Yeah, so, well, it's an extensive list. So, just a couple off the top here, the 1, the 8, the 19, 30, 88, 31, 106. We have a full list on our website, septa.org. Would encourage people to check that out. We also have their alternates listed. It's not, the options are not great. We're not going to sugarcoat it, but we are trying to be as helpful as possible in telling people what other services are available. In total, on August 24th, you will be looking at 32 bus routes eliminated and a number of others cut back, and all with significantly less service. So even the bus routes that remain are going to be significantly impacted. You're going to have crowded conditions, additional pass-ups, and because more people are moving to lines that are operating, and then those reductions also go in place on the Market, Frankfurt, and Broad Street lines, the trolleys, and across regional rail. So that's the first, and remember, that's just the first wave of these cuts. We would be looking at significantly more on January 1st.
So I'm trying to figure out where the bus routes are going to be cut. So I'm thinking about neighborhoods like, say, North Philadelphia, right, where I spent my teenage years, around 25th and Oxford, Columbia, Cecil B. Moore Avenue, Susquehanna Avenue, Lehigh Avenue. There are bus routes that run down all three of those streets. So are we talking about bus routes like that run through some of our more challenged communities?
Yes, unfortunately, we are. It's a difficult task, but we did our best to essentially spread the pain out as much as possible. It's throughout the city. It's throughout the 4 counties. It was just the only way that we could do. We did a full equity analysis in preparing the cuts. So all riders will feel this. That's the unfortunate part about it. There's no other way for us to do it. And one thing that we're particularly worried about is you look at August 24th. That's the day before Philadelphia public schools go back. 55,000 public school students rely on SEPTA as their school bus or their train to get to school. They will be impacted along with other riders. So it's going to mean for them and their families preparing for longer commutes in the morning. Kids might have to make a couple transfers where usually they have a 1-seat ride to school. In some cases, their service is going to be cut, and they're going to have to look at other lines. So it's unfortunately going to be very challenging, and we are particularly concerned about the impact to school students. Yeah.
So the other thing I think I heard you say was that there would be a reduction in service on some of the routes that are going to stay, including on the subway, on the Market Frankfurt L. Would there be a reduction in service immediately on those?
Yes, there would. They would also be reduced by 20%. In the case of Market Frankfurt and Broad Street, they still run, but 20% of the normal trips are going to be cut. So you're going to have less frequent service. And ridership is coming back very strong on those lines. You're going to have much more crowded conditions. So it's not going to be as convenient a service as it is today. And same thing across regional rail, across the trolleys, all services. If the lines that remain in service, essentially it's 1 out of 5 trips that won't run now. But we're trying to stagger it as much as possible to, meet peak hour demand. But it's not a great, not a lot of great options. And it's one thing I think that's important to know about it. It's unprecedented. We've never done something like this. As far as we know, no other major transit agency has had to either. So this is, this is a doomsday scenario, unfortunately.
So what's to stop SEPTA from getting to this point 5-10 years from now? Again, like why does the budget keep getting to the point where we're in an emergency?
Yeah, well, so typically about every 10 years, there's a need for some kind of adjustment at the state level, which is, SEPTA is an instrumentality of the state about our funding. So we're overdue for that. The last one was in 2013. So you would think that probably under even a good scenario, we're probably back again in 10 years, hopefully not in dire circumstances, but, looking for some way to sustain service. We have worked with lawmakers about creating additional local funding options. That's primarily for capital improvement projects, but it's something that's being considered. So that could be an option that would help maybe blunt the impact in the future. But that has to get approved in order for the city and the counties to allocate more money to SEPTA. The state has to approve allowing them to raise those funds, through some kind of fee or tax, whatever they choose to do. Currently, they can't do that. They can only provide local matching funds to the state contribution.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of what SEPTA provides, I'm just wondering if there is a way to right size SEPTA without getting to the emergency level. So that we're not here in 10 years again, looking at, hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of deficit.
Yeah, well, and we've worked hard to cut as much as we can. We've put an austerity program into place that has taken more than $30 million off of our deficit. Deficit's now at $213 million, and that's an annual recurring deficit. We're still not at the full level of service that we provided pre-COVID. We're at about 90% of those levels, but our ridership is picking up. So we would like to be able to increase service as demand goes up. So we think that we've streamlined a lot of operations, made things efficient. We've frozen pay for managers and executives. there's a lot that's been done to streamline and bring those costs in line so that we are as best prepared as we can and to try to lessen the impacts of this. But it's a big operation. It's a complex operation. And, we're feeling the effects of inflation like everyone else is on our everyday costs, keeping the lights on. So we're always looking for ways to enhance that. But when you have a gap this big, there isn't really anywhere else. The only two places we can turn to are service cuts and fare increases. That's our only remedies currently.
Mm-hmm. So where can we go to see the list of bus routes that would be cut if the state doesn't come up with this money?
Yeah, so it's on SEPTA's website, septa.org, and you'll see there's a number of links right on the homepage. Direct link is septa.org/funding crisis, and we have a detailed list of every route. So look at your route. We have a special section to show the impacts on individual schools. So we would encourage students and their families to take a look at that. And in the coming weeks, we're going to have more details on individual schedules for buses, the detailed timetables. So look for that. And we'll certainly be providing updates if we get word on funding and don't have to make these cuts. But right now we have to plan that we're going to go ahead and make them.
And what's the deadline?
So it's August 24th is the date that they would go into place. We would have to know that we have the funding at least a couple weeks before that, because we have to get our employees on schedules. We have to get everything in motion to start that new operating schedule on August 24th. So that we can't do that, a couple days beforehand. So we're hoping that, in the near future, next week or so, we would have a resolution that would allow us to avoid going to those cuts.
All right. Andrew Busch is Director of Media Relations for SEPTA, joined us to talk about the possibility of huge cuts coming up in service if the state does not come up with the money to fill the budget deficit. We'll see.
You're listening to The Week on WURD.
Good morning. It's Solomon Jones, host of the hottest morning show on radio, Wake Up With WURD. Listen weekdays from 7 to 10 a.m. for laughter, for fun, for politics, for family, for more than you can imagine. Check it out every day, Monday through Friday. Wake Up With WURD on 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURD.
This is The Week on WURD, a podcast highlighting the top conversations on WURD Radio. Make sure you look for and follow WURD Radio on social media. Up next, Justin Hunte, journalist and media critic, joining Evening WURDs with Dr. James Peterson.
I am super excited to introduce our next guest, Mr. Justin Hunte, who's journalist and media personality, who has formerly served as Hip Hop DX's editor-in-chief and producer of A&E's popular Clipse show, Court Cam. Hunte's thought-provoking videos on his YouTube channel attracts millions, and he's debated at the prestigious Oxford Union, arguing that Billy Shakespeare is more culturally relevant than Kanye West. Justin Hunte, welcome to Evening WURDs.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
It's great to talk to you, bro. I do want to get to that William Shakespeare argument in a minute, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't begin our conversation talking a little bit about the Clipse and the new Clipse record. So for our listening audience who are, here at Evening WURDs, there's some hip hop heads in this audience, but this is not overwhelmingly a hip hop head audience. Let's first give a little bit of history about the Clipse. The Clipse are a hip hop duo out of the Virginia Beach area, who came up rhyming a lot about selling drugs, particularly selling cocaine. But Justin, if there's more context that we should give before we dive in, please do so.
You're right about that. They do a great job of talking about cocaine, you know what I mean? And all the trappings and trials and discernment that is required should one engage in such a business. Now, I think the part where you said they come out of Virginia is already unique. Virginia's had a ton of very influential producers, Timbaland, Teddy Riley,
Missy
and Pharrell.
Elliott.
Missy Elliott, Pharrell.
Yep.
They came up under Pharrell. So Pharrell introduced them in 2002 with their classic album, Lord Willin'. Grindin' is probably the most popular song from that project.
Maybe one of their most popular songs all time.
All time, easy. I mean, it was such a cultural moment. I mean, anybody who was in any school, anywhere, or any place with a desk had someone doing the grinding beat on
the desk. That's right. Right.
And so their follow-up project, Hell Hath No Fury, is also considered a hip-hop classic. That came 4 years later. They went through label troubles, just like most of the people in the mid-2000s in the music industry, following the consolidation of record labels, which left us in this current environment where we have Warner, Universal, and Sony. And so that was a triumphant return at that point in time.
Meaning we have an oligarchical model for the music industry. There used to be big 4 or 5 when we were a little bit younger, when I was a little bit younger. Now there's essentially just 3.
Just 3, right? Just like the rest of America,
like the rest of America.
We have fake choice, you know what I mean? There's only like 5 real banks if you think about it, and so
straight up and down.
So, and then in 2012, they decided to take a break, largely because Malice. There's 2 artists in Clipse. There's Malice, there's Pusha T, and they're brothers, and blood brothers. And Malice decided to step away from Clipse, partially because he found a commitment to Jesus Christ and he wanted to dedicate his life in that direction. And also part of that is Clipse's manager at the time was part of a very large drug sting.
Surprise.
All the cocaine, you know what I'm saying? And so he stepped away. And so that was 12 years ago. We haven't had a Clipse project since. So this has been a triumphant return.
Justin, can we talk
for a little bit? I'm fighting a cold right now. So
sorry to hear that, man. Thank you for still doing. Listen, wipe your brow as much as you need to.
There you
Justin.
go. Okay,
we're just happy to have your brilliance on these airwaves. I want to talk about Malice's journey a little bit.
Sure.
To the extent that you're aware of it, because I don't know much about it. I don't know much of what he's done. I mean, you hear all these things like he came to Jesus, and we've seen this move before, right? Like Mace made this move. We've seen other artists make this move before. And it is important to note that it was precipitated by what you might argue was the dissolution of his group in some ways, right? But he turned to the Lord as a word. What do you know about that journey I don't think he ever got ordained or anything like that, but he became more religious.
He absolutely did. I mean, he actually put out a fantastic documentary in 2014, I want to say, called The End of Malice, where he really talked about the circumstances that led him to leaving the Clipse. But he also highlights a woman who had been very impactful in his life from a young age, but also throughout his life, who was instrumental in showing him the light, so to speak, right? And her name is, I think it was Miss Alberta, if I'm not mistaken. Pardon me if I'm incorrect on that. And so her influence was a major part of that, along with the circumstances that happened surrounding Clipse. But he still kept rapping, right? So he put out 2 projects. He put out Hear Ye Him and I can't remember the other name right now. And so
maybe not so memorable, but go ahead. Yes.
Right. And so and in those projects, it wasn't necessarily Christian rap. Right. Generally speaking, when people think about Christian rap, or at least within the CHH community, it's people who are rapping about the word or including the word in their raps. Anything outside of that isn't necessarily viewed as Christian hip hop in the same way. So I wouldn't describe it as Christian hip hop, but it was very spiritually leaning. Both of those 2 projects were. And so and as a result of that, you're right. I don't believe he was ordained, so to speak. But that is where his life took him. And so now, and throughout all of that, he and Pusha were still really close. So their relationship wasn't fractured by leaving the group by any means. And he did appear on Pusha T's solo album, Almost Dry, which came out in 2002. And he was on Jesus is King, which is Kanye West's Christian album that he put out.
Oh, so, Lord have mercy. We don't have enough time to talk about Kanye West, Justin. By the way, folks, Christian hip hop is a thing. It is its own subgenre with a lot of great artists that they sell records. It is a thing within the culture. Important to note that. And meanwhile, Justin, Pusha T established himself as a bona fide and viable solo artist over the course of that time.
100%. I mean, he's put out 2 Grammy-nominated projects. It's Almost Dry was Grammy nominated. Daytona was Grammy nominated as well. He ended up while Malice found Jesus, Pusha T found Ye, and you got Kanye West. That is, right. And so he's been very instrumental with Kanye's productions that he put out over the past 15 years or so. He was an executive.
He was the head. He was the executive of Good Music.
He was executive of it. And also, he wrote quite a bit for Kanye. So when most people hear My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, a lot of those rhymes are Pusha T's rhymes. Yeah. Or you can hear in stylistically that Ye is rapping like Pusha T. And that's so, right. And then, and
that's considered one of Kanye West's greatest albums, by the way.
100%. 100%. You really can't go wrong with those first five, I think.
Yeah, first
after
five
that,
albums.
It gets a little.
After that, it gets dicey.
It's hit and miss. But Pusha T, solidified his reputation as a vicious lyricist in his battle against Drake, which was, I believe, it was 2018. And he's the
people
one.
People forget because of all the Drake K-Dot stuff that Pusha T destroyed Drake.
I mean, at that point in time, it looked like the worst loss that I'd ever seen in rap history.
It was brutal,
and so Pusha T, and then away from that, he's always worked with Pharrell. He became very engaged in fashion, high fashion, did a lot of things with Louis Vuitton. He's on payroll at Louis Vuitton too. I believe he has a position over there. And so, but Pusha T just kept the brand going. And so while Malice stepped away, and we hadn't had a Clipse album since 2009, Pusha T remaining as forward-facing as he's been this entire time. Arguably on its own, if he had put out a solo album, I don't think it would have this type of impact. But he's been able to carry that brand and carry the brothers Thornton reputation forward.
Yeah. I mean, their media rollout was incredible, right? Because he comes out and just disrespects Kanye West, right? They fight with the label to keep the Kendrick Lamar verse. I mean, I don't know if it was all contrived. Justin, you would know better than I don't know if this is all contrived or all planned, but this is about a perfect media rollout for a record as you could have in the 21st century. You got interviews where Pusha T is saying Kanye West is not a man. You have media reporting that they wanted them to remove the Kendrick Lamar verse because of the oligarchical state of the industry, remove the Kendrick Lamar verse because they're still hurt about Drake getting demolished. But I mean, I don't know if this is planned or not, but have you seen a better rollout for a record than this new Clipse record?
I haven't seen one in a decade plus, probably, especially in this new era where it became in vogue to just sort of drop your project and let your fans run to it. The surprise drop became, I don't want to say ubiquitous, but maybe slightly less than ubiquitous since Beyonce's Lemonade, I'd argue.
Yeah, and Beyonce changed the game with that. And a lot of folks followed that model. It worked for some, not for everybody, though, Justin. It doesn't work for everybody.
I mean, especially now where fans, audience members are, used to the virality of a moment, but don't necessarily stick with the same things as long as possible. So in this case, especially with Clipse, from this rollout, it was massively successful. You're right. They had everything that you needed. One, it's already a reunion of a storied group that's celebrated. Two, you got Pharrell and Louis Vuitton just off top, right? They've been teasing songs from this project during Louis Vuitton fashion shows in Paris for the past 2 years, right? So it already sounds expensive. It's expensive already, right? That's what you want from your cocaine titans. It's expensive, right? And then so you get that, and then there's the drama with the label, it's particularly when they framed it as Def Jam. You know what I mean?
It's really universal, but they framed it as Def Jam, which is, again, more clicks.
Because that would sound crazy. Def Jam doesn't want a Kendrick Lamar verse. The most storied label in hip hop history.
It doesn't make any sense.
That sounds nuts. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but that wasn't necessarily the case. Now, from my point of view and from my sources and my conversations, that part wasn't contrived at all. You know what I mean?
Okay, wow.
So Def Jam really wanted it. Universal, their lyrics department, took issue with it.
Wow.
Pusha T framed it as taking issue with the optics of having two Drake conquerors on a track together. The song was presented, all this was presented last summer, so it was presented a year ago. And so they didn't like Pusha T presented it as the optics. My sources say it was more about the Trump card reference at the end of the Kendrick Lamar's verse. He closes the verse with a Trump reference. And so whether it was more than one than the other, those two together, because if you also take the
they're way more scared of Trump than they are of Drake, without question.
I think so. I think so, particularly. Yeah. And then when this, when that verse came out, or not came out, when they presented the verse to Universal, to Def Jam, and when Universal was reviewing this, Trump's assassination attempt had already taken place.
Okay.
So there was already, away from Trump just being
sensitive. Yeah.
Right. Away from Trump just being extremely litigious in the first place. You know what I mean?
He will sue you as much as he'll look at you.
100%. And so I think, as we can see with a lot of these, with the American Eagle jeans commercial and today with the Dunkin' Donuts commercial,
I can't wait to pick your brain about this American jeans commercial. That is the only other thing I had on my roster of questions for you in addition to this Clipse record. The record is called Let God Sort 'Em Out, folks. It's available wherever you get your records. Justin, I generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of Clipse, right? Like the kind of music I would like normally listen to is more in the Black Thought, Lupe Fiasco, Kendrick Lamar vein, right? Like, I find myself unable to stop listening to the new Samara Sin record because I'm still hungover from Doechii, right? And so, like, that's kind of where I'm at, right? But a record, but I like this record. And there's a question hopefully you can answer. I cannot answer this. Will rapping about cocaine ever go out of style? Like, will it ever? I mean, first of all, cocaine is not even like the street drug of choice right now. These guys are still rapping about things they did 30 years ago.
And very well.
With new metaphors and new language and like new similes and stuff. I mean, it's crazy. But like, will it ever? Because a lot of the listeners to this program are like, Peterson, why are you talking about these rappers who are rapping about selling drugs in our community? But I'm curious from your perspective, will it ever exhaust itself within the culture?
Cocaine specifically, I think that'll probably ebb and flow, but I think drugs will always be a part of not even just rap music, but music in general. Mm-hmm. I think partying and getting high go pretty well together, just generally speaking. But when it comes to Clipse, cocaine is loud and omnipresent in their catalog, but I describe it more as a device. Cocaine isn't necessarily the point of what they're describing. It's the device that they're using to color their frame of mind. Really, if you look at Clipse and the content that they offer, it's really about discernment. Be discerning about who you do business with. Be discerning about who you trust. Be discerning about your own vices and vulnerabilities. Be discerning about the energy you put out into the world. Be discerning and understanding of the consequences that come with making certain decisions. And I think all of their catalog has been consistent on that point. I think the difference is when it's Clipse versus when it's Pusha T alone or when it's Malice alone, is the two of them together. So even before Malice left Clipse, if you listen to their projects, Pusha T is leaning more into the perhaps more bombastic, colorful descriptions of the coke life selling cocaine. And Malice always comes right back with the consequences of that. And so that is that's the marriage that makes them special. And when it comes to this album, away from the discernment and cocaine as a device that they've always leaned on, you also get songs about, songs about their parents who passed away. Yeah. You get songs that Pusha T is talking about the challenges he and his wife were having a second child and IVF treatment. They talk about, the emotions they felt, obviously, when, their family, their friends, and their manager were being arrested during all that stuff. So I like the device as of the cocaine device to me is colorful and enough to get people who might not be listening that deeply to show up at the table. Kanye always said you got to show up to the door with flowers first. What happens when you let that person in the door and they stick around for the stickiness of the substance that's also in this project? And I'd argue that's also a part of Clipse's broader catalog.
Yeah, I tried not to like this album in multiple listen throughs. And then there's one moment I'm riding with it and I get to the end, I get to By the Grace of God. and I'm listening to it, I actually really listened. I was like, man, I actually love this album. Like that one song changes how I see the record, but there's some good financial literacy stuff here as well.
A
like,
lot of it,
right? There's just straight like people. If you don't know what EBITDA is, like you're gonna look it up when you hear the song, right? And so like they are trying to teach. Even though there's a lot of syrupy stuff here, but they are trying to give folks some medicine. Justin, before we move on from this Clipse record, any standout tracks for you? For me, it's that last track that really flipped it for me once I really gave an opportunity for these guys to kind of dig in on the kind of spiritual, more religious side, if you will. It helped me see the record a little bit differently coming out of that. But for you, what's your experience overall with the record?
That's a great record. Ace Trumpets to me is an immediate standout. You know, just the brilliant display of assonance that Malice it delivers. Both of them, truthfully, but Malice's verse is amazing. My man says, "Never leaving home without my peace, like I'm Mahatma Gandhi." But also, you gotta stay strapped.
That's
you know
right.
I mean?
That's right.
There's a lot of moments
without
like that.
His peace and his peacekeeper. I mean, that is, you're right. Yeah, like that. Agreed. There are lines like that I think are just gems that will live on. Let's move on from Clipse, if you will, Justin. I've been trying to think about how to talk about this American Eagle ad without promoting American Eagle in any way whatsoever. But just to help our listeners get up to speed. So there's an American Eagle ad starring Sydney Sweeney that dropped earlier this week that has caused a lot of consternation across a wide variety of communities. And Justin, every so often there is an ad that either leaks or pops up that generates the outrage machine within the Black community. There's been, in the past, there have been Benetton ads. There have been, I can't remember them all now, but there's
Abercrombie and Fitch.
Abercrombie and Fitch, right? There are ads that pop up that are, I think to say they're racially insensitive is a tremendous understatement. Sometimes they're so bad that people assume that these things are done deliberately to incense and outrage Black folks. Talk to us about, well, first of all, this American Eagle ad is an ad featuring Sydney Sweeney. She is a young white woman, a very popular actress, I would say, at this point, and playing on the homonym genes here. And it has rubbed some folks the wrong way. Justin, talk a little bit about the ad and some of your thoughts on it before I dig a little bit deeper with this.
So Sydney Sweeney stars in the American Eagle ad, and to paraphrase the spot, she says, she talks about how people are blessed with good genes, and her genes are blue, right? And so it gives subtle, or maybe not so subtle, eugenics undertones, and harkens back to a dark era for anybody who wasn't blonde-haired and blue-eyed. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of where the big consternation, as you said, with this ad is. One thing that's really interesting to me about this ad is that it's no longer alone. So today, Dunkin' Donuts released an ad with a white guy sitting by the pool, and he gets up and he says, "Yeah, I don't know how I got this way. The looks, the body, the genetics," and they say they went all the way in with genetics. So now there is a pattern. Now we have two in the marketplace by two major corporations that are at best dog whistling to eugenics and
Justin, dog whistles are supposed to be silent to the human ear. They're not supposed to be detectable. You're supposed to have some critical apparatus to decode them. These seem a little bit more blatant, and you can't, I think, not consider the fact that there's some advertising agents in the atmosphere out here who are pandering to this MAGA moment. I mean, to me, that's inescapable. That's an inescapable interpretation for me.
Well, when I said dog whistling, I meant towards white people. White people are always the ones that are incredulous about what they're hearing.
What are you talking about?
Right. What do you mean? Right. So it's not a dog whistle to us, but at the same time, I look at this again as an obvious reaction, one, partially from this administration, two, from the summer of 2020 and all the uprisings and the corporate pendulum swinging more in the direction of equality and equity, truthfully. I think this is a natural reaction, a pattern that happens throughout the history. I mean, you get Reconstruction, then you get Jim Crow, you know. Three, I think we've been here for longer than it may seem with these ads. The manosphere has been a very, very effective, very large marketplace for these type of ideas. Happy Dad, you know, as a company, for example, Steak as a company, for example, they were thanked by the Trump administration during their victory party after the election, you know, so they've had political impact at this point already. And so I think it's only natural, not natural in a positive way, but I don't know what else to expect. Then you have an administration currently in office right now who is abducting people, who is sending people to concentration camps and bragging about it. And so at some point, the marketing and the advertising is going to align with trying to target the population who seems to be most okay with these things. And so I think it's terrible all the way around, by the way.
Bro, I mean, and also what you're describing is like peak propaganda. I mean, I don't buy American Eagle products. I don't drink Dunkin' Donuts or eat Dunkin' Donuts. You know what I mean? But so there's no boycott issue here for me, right? But I think the more dangerous piece of this is what you're saying is that do these ad agencies, these ad execs now believe there's a lane for them to communicate directly to MAGA folks at the broadest level? We're not talking about Happy Dad or like, you know, some of these brands are more boutique. And please explain the manosphere. So, because a lot of our listeners are not big social media eggheads like you and I are. So define what the manosphere is and the Tate brothers and kind of the sinister energy that's coming out of that space, if you will. But like, the question I really have is, do these major American corporations now think that there's a lane for them to start speaking eugenics at the level of Dunkin' Donuts and American Eagle?
Short answer, yes. I mean, they're doing it. And I think we're going to see more of it with American Eagle because of the stock price boost that they just had over the past day. Their stock soared 21%, something like that. So the market is reacting positively to this. Two, on the manosphere front, I think the manosphere includes a lot of podcasts or different media outlets like Joe Rogan or the Tate brothers, for example, Happy Dad, for example. And what they have done is they've taken advantage of at different points in time perceived wild, wild west nature of the podcast space as it's been developing over the past 10 years. They looked around and they realized that young men, just generally speaking, young men in America of all races are down bad in a lot of situations. If you look at suicide rates, if you look at employment rates, and they find different targets, for example, whether that's immigrants, whether that's women, generally speaking, they target young men through things that young men tend to like. So they do it through video games or certain types of pranks, or they do it through contact sports like UFC. And now they started doing it through hip hop. And so they were able to galvanize conversations with young men, sneak in their political ideologies or sneak in their whatever messaging they wanted to, and actually had an impact on this previous election. They were instrumental in, for the first time in a very long time, having the red team win young people, which isn't something that I never seen it in my life.
Not in my life.
Not in my life. I never seen young people saying, you know what? I want to hang out with the Confederates. I never see that before, but here we are.
So I know some folks are going to come at Sydney Sweeney here. Do you think that she has any culpability in this machinery? Does she need to be more aware? And, you know, should she release some kind of statement or something? She's probably contractually bound not to at this point, but.
I think she's 100% down. You know, I mean, I saw a statement from the ad agency. I can't remember the name off top. And they described how when they pitched this idea to Sydney Sweeney, they posed the idea like, hey, how far do you want to go with this? Or are you comfortable with this stuff? And she says, I'm ready to go all the way in. So this is per her ad agency. I haven't heard her say anything. But I personally I don't think she would have done it if she didn't feel comfortable with it. I mean, I'm not Sydney Sweeney, but I'm not going to sign up to go put my name on messages that I think would hurt my brand. And to be honest, I don't know if this hurts hers at all.
Wow. The Dunkin' Donuts ad is still pretty new. Seems a little bit more blatant. I mean, a lot of folks,
a lot more blatant.
Yeah, a lot more blatant.
Use genetics.
They say literally use. It's insane. This is insane. And again, this is like Elon Musk's world. This is what Elon Musk wants, right? Out of the American pop culture world. But like Dunkin' Donuts is a bigger brand than American Eagle. Is there going to be any pushback? You think there'll be any consequences for the company that allegedly fuels America?
You know, I think if there's any consequences, they've already factored those into this decision making, right? If they can get the consequences are only as bad as the difference between new customers you gain versus the customers that you have. And this is a very young leaning ad. Mm-hmm. And so I think they're playing downstream in a way that I'm not sure whether or not it matters to them, the people that they might lose. You're right. Dunkin' Donuts is a much bigger brand. There's Dunkin' Donuts in hoods all over America. All over America. Like my family's from really all up and down the East Coast. I got a lot of family in Philly, but particularly Brooklyn. And below Stillwell in Coney Island, Brooklyn, it's like 20 blocks of projects. Okay, there was no McDonald's. Okay, there was no Wendy's,
no Subway, but there's a Dunkin' Donuts.
There's a Dunkin' Donuts in that mug, and we ain't talking about nothing but Black and Puerto Ricans, right? And so, you know, we'll see what happens. But you know, from that in that situation, even in that example of that Dunkin' Donuts, it's a bit of a food desert. You know, so people are only as available to push back on things when they deem them as an option. So we shall see what happens with Dunkin' Donuts. You're right. I think they're a bit more exposed than American Eagle is. But this is the world we're in. This is America in 2025.
Justin, we're getting a lot of comments coming in on Facebook on these issues. From your perspective, I mean, should we be organizing boycotts? I mean, is there an appropriate or effective response from folks who are outraged by what I would call propaganda, but some of this eugenics or genetics messaging coming from these huge companies?
I'm always an advocate for boycotts. I think we need to do it a lot more. I think we need to be. I think, you know, two things stand out to me in this point in time too. Especially, I live in Los Angeles, so and the ice raids were taking place not too far away from me. And so, you know, there's been a lot of conversations from different communities asking why Black people weren't marching. Well, one, we were marching, so don't do that. But two, you know, marches and things like that turn totally different when we show up. The whole energy shifts. That's when you start getting
the cops start acting differently, bro.
Right. That's when you start getting random pallets of bricks just sitting in the intersection out of nowhere, like all those kind of things. I don't think us throwing ourselves to the front lines to get murdered is the best way to make the difference in 2025. So, but I do think that this is a time to be a lot more community focused. I think it's a time to be more covert in how we move in a lot of ways. And it's 100% of the time to be boycotting anybody that's out here doing this BS that we don't support.
I love this.
And that's the most important. That's the only language that people really listen to in this bank disguised as a country called the United States of America, is where you spend your dollars. So I would implore people who have a problem with this to stop spending money with Dunkin' Donuts and stop spending money with American Eagle and any other brand that they feel like does not align with your personal values or the values of the community that you care about. I mean, there's really no other way that we're going to be able to let people know how serious we really are.
100%. Justin Hunt, the company man, on social. Follow him on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel, folks. Justin, bro, we got to get you back on the show more. We got to do this more. I appreciate you taking time, especially when you giving us your Kobe Michael Jordan here today, especially when you're a little under the weather to come on the program and sit for 2 segments. I appreciate that, good brother. Yes, give it up for him, young mighty Jordan.
Thank you so much.
But bro, I want to have you back, man. We got to do this more often and regularly if you can. But we appreciate your insights here today across the the sphere of popular culture, as it were, in America right now. Good Lord, we got propaganda, we got eugenics, and cocaine rappers still dropping classic records. I don't know what to do, bro. I don't know what to do. It's a crazy time.
It's all happening.
It's all happening. It's all happening. But thank you, good brother, for spending some time with us today. We appreciate it.
This is the Week on Word. Stay connected on the go with the WURD Radio app. Search WURD Radio in your app store. Stream every show with increased clarity. Easily access WURD TV, EcoWord, and Livelihood. Remember, Black Media Matters. Get the WURD Radio app today. Available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. You're listening to the Week on Word podcast. To learn more about our programming, simply visit WURDradio.com. Our last conversation for this episode features Dr. Joyelle Ballard, board-certified OBGYN and women's health advocate, joining Soulful Sunrise with Karen Taylor Bass.
Dr. Joyelle Ballard is our guest this morning. Board-certified OBGYN, menopause advocate, and women's health expert. Dr. Joyelle Ballard, how are you? Happy belated birthday, our girl.
Thank you.
Turning fresh off of turning 50. What's up, mama? Woo-woo.
Woo-woo. I am well, Miss Karen. How are you, Queen?
Oh, queen to queen. I am flowing. Oh, my God.
Yes.
It is so good to see your beautiful face on this. And I know you're going to plank with me at the second part of this, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe?
All right.
Maybe. Okay.
Okay.
So, as you know, July is Uterine Fibroid Awareness Month. And my God, the way the year is going, the way the month is going, I was like, wait a minute, we're almost there. It's the 29th. We have to bring that in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy you're joining us. Uterine fibroid awareness is something that I read that impacts 8 to 10 women by the age of 50, especially us sisters.
Yes.
So we want to talk about that. You know, some key facts. Fibroids are non-cancerous in the uterine, right?
Right.
Often influenced by estrogen. But I want you to talk about the symptoms, everything that our Soulful Sunrisers can be equipped when to make certain that they're advocating for themselves at the doctor. But I just want to set the tone with a little bit this or that this morning. So it's the first thing. It's either this or that. A little fun first. So let's do it.
Okay.
Shea butter or coconut oil?
Ooh.
For the hair or the body, let me preface.
Yeah, I was about to say for the body or the hair.
I'm both.
Okay, I'm a shea butter.
You're shea butter girly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shea butter. Seamless leggings or flared yoga pants?
Ooh. I'm going to go with seamless leggings.
Okay. I'm a flare girl. I'm a flare. Favorite fibroid fighting food? Broccoli, berries. What you got?
I think I'm going to go with berries. We need some antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Yeah.
Okay. Just turning 50. Beach queen or pool queen?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
You could always say both.
Okay, I'm going to do both. Because I like to go from the beach to the pool, back to the beach.
Yes. And walking meditation or a spa date or spa day?
Karen, you is making it hard for me now.
I'm just saying this or that. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to go with walking meditation.
Yes, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And then I know you went to a concert this summer so far. So the next one is best concert experience that brought so much joy, because that's our theme.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, girl. Yeah, I went to see Beyonce. And I would say that, but this year I took my two girls, 12 and 14, to see SZA and Kendrick.
Oh my God. Guess what? I took my 18-year-old to see.
Really? Yes. So it was their first concert experience. So that I would say that would be my best joyful experience.
Nice.
Like, just watching them, enjoy the experience.
Yes.
So yeah.
I could echo that because I like their music, but I can't say I was like a fan.
Right, me too. Exactly. I'm like, I don't know this song.
Right. But why was I like grooving and jamming and be like, oh, that's my joint now?
Yeah.
So okay. We here
Yes,
this morning.
exactly.
We here. So let's bring it for everyone to join us on this ride, Dr. Joyelle.
Yes.
What exactly are fibroids and why do they affect us, Black women, women of color, at such an alarming clip? What is it?
Yeah, great question. So fibroids are non-cancerous growths that occur in the uterus, and they can vary in size from a size of a pea to a size of a melon. And like you said before, approximately 70% of white women can develop fibroids by the age of 50, but more than 80% of Black women can develop fibroids by the age of 50. And yes, we are more likely to have fibroids, but we also tend to have them earlier. They are actually bigger, and we can become more symptomatic. And the reasons why can be multi-layered. There's evidence to show that being vitamin D deficient, Black women are more tended to have vitamin D deficiency, which can predispose them to developing fibroids. Genetic fibroids can run in families. There's some hormonal imbalances that can occur, and environmental, chronic stress that causes inflammation. Because of Black women, we carry a lot of weight, whether it's racism, discrimination, all the things that we endure as Black women, that can contribute to the development and the growth of fibroids. And then, health inequities that we're not, having the access to, get not particularly screening, but, having our regular exams and things like that so we can, catch the fibroids earlier.
Wow. I remember back in, oh goodness, I'm going to date myself, but when I was in my 30s, many, or not so many moons ago, I remember some of my friends were experiencing at that time fibroids, and, there wasn't such a light on it like it is now, a spotlight.
Right.
And one of the things, everything you said, there's so many things that we have going against us, but we have a lot of things going for us. What are some of the things we have going for us that will help us with this joy, being our self-care, putting our health first? How can we pivot? What do we have in our arsenal that we can course correct fibroids, Dr. Joyelle Ballard?
Great question. And yeah, I think it's so important for us to lean into the power that we do have. And I think that definitely comes first with us prioritizing ourselves and really taking care. You mentioned the spa day and the self-care, the walking meditation, which is also self-care. I think we need to realize that, yes, spa days are great, but self-care is a multitude of things: walking meditation, breath work, taking the opportunity every single day to pour into ourselves and choosing joy, whether it's reading a good book, doing puzzles and all the things. Basically decreasing stress and giving ourselves opportunity just to be still with ourselves. I think that makes a world of a difference. As well as what we're eating, right? Being mindful of what we're eating. All those things are self-care. And that, we don't have to, go out to do all the things when it comes to self-care and taking care of ourselves. We can just do things right at the house.
Right at the house. So like when you say eating, I do believe, I just came back from a wellness retreat in Mexico in Playa del Carmen, and we had a vegan diet for 5 days, and the body reacted differently right away, literally right away.
Yeah.
Sleeping is different. Movement is different. Energy is different. But not everybody has to be that absolute or extreme.
Right.
What should we be eating to keep these suckers at bay? Seriously, right?
Yes,
because they're suckers. Right?
Yes, exactly. Keep them suckers at bay. So I like to say, eat more plants. Eat the rainbow. You know, when you're looking down into plate, you see a multitude of colors, not just a lot of white and brown, you know? So that's Leo. Lots of, we mentioned berries before, things that are anti-inflammatory, berries, fiber-rich foods, omega-6s, you know, like our fish, you know, things like that. We want to eat those type of things to help keep the inflammation down. That can ultimately help with keeping those suckers at bay.
Yeah, right.
And at the same time, cutting back sugar and processed foods. Oh my gosh, that's a big one. That processed foods is like all this crap that's in it really wreaks havoc on our bodies when we're not realizing it. So really cutting back on that makes a world of a difference too.
I'm so glad you said that because, you know, my daughter just turned 18 in June. And one of the things I realized when we turn 18, it's like another switch goes on. And like everything that your parent put in front of you to eat that you literally ate, now you're choosing like other things.
Right.
So, you know, like I've never seen so many Canes and Chick-fil-A, like different things in my household. And I'm like, oh my God. So she'll say, oh, I had lettuce on the bun. I'm like, that's not what it is. So talk to us about being in our 20s and 30s and even, you know, what are we looking for in our body? What are we being in tuned at that age if we may have a pain, or what do we need to be vigilant or just aware? Because I know at that age, you may not be in tune with your body, or you might just feel, you know, you can do anything. You're invincible, but fibroids are starting earlier and earlier. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. So definitely being more proactive about being in tune with our bodies when we're in our 20s and 30s. Because like, we 20 and 30, we like invincible, like nothing's happening to us, right? But really paying attention and being aware. And, you know, and I think the other issue is that we normalize a lot of things, especially as Black women. Like, oh, girl, your periods are heavy, girl. That's normal. Like, no, sometimes it's not normal, right? So we're looking for our periods being extremely heavy where we're actually changing pads or tampons in under an hour. Or very prolonged, you know, lasting for more than 7 days. Pelvic pain, you know, it's basically not, you can't go to work, you can't go to school because of excruciating pain. That is not normal. We're conditioned to just push through the pain and just, you know, deal with it. But if those things are happening, we need to address it. Bloating, frequent urination, pain with intercourse. And, you know, if we're starting our careers, but also thinking about starting families, there can be fertility issues. So we're going to look for those type of things to be, you know, red flags to figure, okay, well, I need to see somebody and talk to somebody about it.
I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things that I underscore, you know, I remember when I was married, my ex-husband would always say that I would go to the doctor if my finger was bleeding. Like, you're such a psychosomatic. I just remember that. That stayed with me. But, you know, I said, no, it's really vigilance. Like, you know, not being extreme, but just being aware. When you said that, I thought choosing our doctors is so important also, so that the pain that we experience in the pelvic area or any region in our bodies is not normalized because of the color of our skin. And folks feel like we can take on the world. So talk to us about when choosing gynecological care. Oh, they almost tripped me up. And, you know, what that looks like, how we should be diligent and discerning when selecting a doctor to treat us.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. That is so important. And a lot of us, you know, go see doctors and like totally just dismiss. I've had women come to my office like, I went to this doctor and I told them about my heavy periods and they just told me it was fine and normal and sent me on my way. And I'm like, what?
Right.
So I think first is, you know, number one, being aware and knowing that you are the expert of your own body. So when you see a doctor, So when you see a doctor and you feel like you're not being heard, you're being dismissed, you need to find another doctor. I think we need to normalize that too. And I know sometimes that can be, doctor shopping could be difficult. That's why we talk to our friends, talk to our moms and aunts and cousins or or whoever, females in the family, and figure out, who do you see? And do you like her or him? And, to get someone who may be a better fit for you. But certainly, if you're feeling like you're not being heard, it's really okay if you get second opinions.
I love that.
Finding that doctor who's actually going to see you, hear you, and partner with you to figure out what the best option is for you when you're dealing with the things you're dealing with.
Partner with you. Your doctor, your caregiver is your partner. So when you're doing that gynecological exam, I know it's early, but what are you looking for? What are you feeling for? Yeah.
So when we're talking about fibroids, we have the pelvic exam. So that's when, the doctor is inserting 2 fingers inside the vagina and putting the other hand on top of your belly, lower abdomen. And we're feeling for the size of the uterus. Now, there are, fibroids that can be very tiny. We may not feel. But those that are large, medium to large, we can feel those on a pelvic exam. There are fibroids that can potentially basically protrude inside the uterine cavity. And some of those women may have bleeding in between periods, which may be a sign for us to, look a little bit deeper. And we're talking about doing an ultrasound to also give us more information when it comes to fibroids. When we talk about the physical exam, it's a lot of the pelvic exam that we can actually feel for potential fibroids on those exams. And then, then ultimately go to the ultrasound or sonogram to see where those fibroids are and how big they are.
What happens to the body when we hit perimenopausal? What age is that? I know there's a range. And how does fibroid show up differently? Or maybe it's been there. What should we be aware of as we become older?
Right. Yeah, a lot of times they're already there. So when we're hitting perimenopause, where our hormones are starting to fluctuate, usually the age of perimenopause can range anywhere from late 30s to early 40s. And
hold on. We got a caller. Okay. We don't get many, so we get excited.
Exactly. Come on.
Good morning, caller. I don't even have your name. I'm just filled with excitement. Tell me who you are, and are you excited on this Joy Tuesday? Talk to me.
Yes. Praise the Lord, Queens. This is Rosalind.
Hello, Miss Rosalind, Queen Rosalind.
I love y'all. But I've been under a lot of pressure. But the reason why I'm calling, can you ask the doctor? It's been 52 years since I had the fibroid tumors. I did have one sister die from it and another close friend, because when they got them, they didn't want to get the operation done because they felt as though their wound wouldn't be the same as far as pleasing a man. But I had it done. My question is to the doctor, it's 52 years later since I had my daughter. After the pandemic, I have like a knot in my stomach. I don't know if it's a tumor or what. GYN, I think I stopped going when I was 50. They say I have to go no more because I stopped the menstrual, having a baby at age 13, going on 3 C-sections. So my point is, when I went to get it done with the doctors to find out what that lump is in my stomach, and he said it happened when I had my daughter. And the reason why I didn't let them operate on me to find out what it was behind the fact of the pandemic and what was going on with the doctor. So if you can ask her, can they come back and don't have no menstrual no more? I'm at that age.
Thank you, Miss Queen Rosalind. We're going to ask, because Dr. Joyelle heard your question. So thanks for calling in. We still need another caller for these tickets. Go ahead, Dr. Joyelle. Please answer that question.
Queen Rosalind, thanks for calling in, and thank you for sharing your story. First, if you've had a hysterectomy, that's typically the definitive treatment for fibroids, unless a fibroid, which is not common but can happen on the ovaries. I don't know if during your hysterectomy you had your ovaries removed or not. So that's one. So typically if you have a mass in your belly, like again, if you have still ovaries, it could be related to that. So you definitely need an ultrasound or maybe even a CAT scan if they don't see anything on the ultrasound. So that's number one. Number two, you still need GYN exams, my dear.
No matter how old.
No matter how old, no matter if you had a hysterectomy, you still have other parts. Vagina, like I said, I don't know if you still have your ovaries. You still need pelvic exams. Someone needs to still look in your vagina to make sure, and even also the vulva, the outside, look at that part too to make sure everything looks normal there. So please go get your GYN exam in regards to that. And I hope that you are able to find and partner with the doctor to figure out what this mass is so you can take care of it.
Amen. Yes, Soulful Sunrisers, to my queens, please, I don't care how old you are. Like Dr. Joyelle said, if you are walking and breathing, you need to be at the doctor's regularly. Don't let them tell you that. Please, 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 please. But thank you, Queen Roslyn, for calling in. Dr. Joyelle, can you plank and talk?
Well, girl, you now you challenging me, but I'm gonna try. You know, I like a challenge. I like a challenge.
Okay, we're gonna get the go button or time from Fahim, and I want you to give everyone listening, Soulful Sunrise, but especially as it relates to our female parts and fibroids, a message to the Soulful Sunrisers as we plank. Let's get in position. All right, you ready, Dr. Joy?
Okay, let me get on the floor. I'm gonna lead the screen.
With your message. I did say today's topic was joy, right? We just bring in the joy. All right, you ready?
Let me know when to start now.
All right, not yet. He's going to give us the timer and you can start your message before we close. Fahim, whenever you're ready. Soulful Sunrisers, get ready for your plank. Okay, go now.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm in my plank, y'all. Okay. But my message is listen to your body and honor what it tells you. There are going to be so many things that are happening. And then there's also a lot of noise outside of us, right? But we really have to get in tune with our bodies and listen to her. What is she telling you? And then find someone, a doctor, that you can advocate for yourself, because your womb, your wellness, your wholeness, all of that matters. And for you to get to where you want to be and align with what your divine identity is, you need to listen and stay in tune with your body. And that is my message.
That is a great message. Oh my God. I am feeling it, receiving it. How's your body in this plank? It's almost time. We're going to get that.
My body is good, girl. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And I was talking at the same time. Yep. I'm proud of myself.
Yes, breath control is everything. How are we doing, Fahim? We almost there?
I'm going to say, Fahim, where you at?
You gotta show up. You get on your knees and do a stretch. Don't know and understand that women over 50 can't be messing around with this minute.
I'm like, where he go?
Soulful Sunrisers, the theme was joy. We brought joy into your household, your car. This Tuesday morning, June. Oh my God, too much joy. July 29, 2025. Congratulations to our winner, Yvette from Jersey, who's attending the concert on Thursday. I will be there. Dr. Joyelle Ballard, you got to come back on, girl. This was so much joy. And what's that word? Word.
All right, thank you.
Oh, how can we find you, please?
Oh, yes, drjoyelle.com and then Dr. Joyelle on Instagram, y'all. Find me, DRJOYEL.
You're checking out The Week on WURD. Represent your favorite station in style. Look for Afrocentric tees, hoodies, tumblers, notebooks, mugs, and more. Just click the Shop tab at wordradio.com. Show the world that you're all about Black Talk Media.
You gotta look good.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Week on WURD. Let's stay connected. Sign up for our newsletter and listen to us online at WURDradio.com and on the WURD Radio app.